Hello and welcome to the Retro Gaming Corner. I'm your host Nick. In this brand new series, I am going to talk about most of the video games we have come to know to love today, such as the Super Nintendo, the regular NES, the GameCube, the Dreamcast, and many more. In this first episode, I want to talk about the console that got me hooked on video games when I was 5 years old. And that console was none other than the NES. I can remember being 5 years old and seeing Super Mario Brothers for the first time. The very first Super Mario Brothers. I was fascinated with the graphics and with the characters. I just remember the gameplay being addicting. I mean, it was like I was brought into this new world to control this plumber named Mario. And to me, Mario stands out as one of the best video game characters ever made uh, for Nintendo. I'm talking about, I believe Mario beat out Donkey Kong, Yoshi, even though Yoshi's the part of Mario. I'm talking about Mario as himself. Um, you know, I mean, the control, the gameplay, they were innovative for their time because no one had seen a game like Super Mario Brothers. I mean, I can remember seeing the Koopas for the first time, going down the pipe tunnels for the first time, and the noise that it made when you reached the end of the level. You had to jump and pull the flag. I can remember that noise and the song that it made when you finished a level. I can remember all of the secrets. I mean, Mario to me just it brings back memories, and I like Mario because it was Mario Brothers, I should say. It was the first game that ever had secret passages. No other game before Mario, no other game before that time had what Super Mario Brothers had. It had very interesting levels, but you know, it had places where you could skip levels. Like you could go, there were these hidden places where if you found them, you could skip to level 6, level 7, and so on. Um, Mario was created in Japan by uh, Shigeru Miyamoto. Yeah, Shigeru Miyamoto. Um, he is also the creator of Donkey Kong, as many other characters of Nintendo. You know, Mario started as in Donkey Kong, which lots of people don't know. Yeah, the Donkey Kong franchise also started on the NES, and I remember one Christmas, I think I was about 8 years old. I opened up this present, and there it is in front of my eyes, Donkey Kong Jr. Now, I don't know why I didn't get the original Donkey Kong, but, being 8 years old and popping this game in and seeing a game like Donkey Kong Jr., I mean, the graphics, blew my mind. I was like, wow, it can't get any better than this. Um, to me, like, the NES is what started my love for gaming in general. And it's funny for me to think 28 years later, here I am, 31 years old, and I still love video games to this day. I mean, I'm thinking I will always love video games, and the NES would definitely have a place in my heart because it will. It was my first console. I mean, your first console, no matter if your first console was the NES, the SNES, the PlayStation, the Sega Master System, uh, or the Sega Genesis, we say in the States, or the Atari, or the Omega, or whatever it's called. Um, Whatever your first system was, that's the one you remember. And it's so funny that I was born in the era of I think it was the second or third generation consoles. I think it was the third. Um, but, the SNES or the NES will always have a place in my heart. And, this episode is devoted to the Nintendo Entertainment System. And, for a time, the controls were just easy. It had the directional pad, it had A and B, and it had start. That was all you needed back then. Oh, and select. That's all I had. There was no X and Y buttons on on the NES, because you really didn't need those buttons. Most of the game only required you to press A. It was only certain games that also required B. There were a lot of fighting games that required B, but not that many. So I believe it was only the fighting games. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, for me, the game that I played, I only had to tap A. Like, if I were playing WWF WrestleMania, I would have to use both buttons. Or if I was playing Super Mario Brothers, I would have to, uh, press the A and B buttons. Super Mario Brothers had sequels. Number 2 wasn't really a number 2 for us. It was just a remake of a Japanese game called Doki Doki Panic. They just took the characters from Doki Doki Panic and kind of put Mario characters in there because they felt like the original form of the game wouldn't be pleasing to Western audiences. So they said, why don't we just put, Mario in there and see how it goes? And, Super Mario, Mario Brothers 2 was a hit because it was different. You picked up things, you picked up plants, and this was the first game where you could, play as Peach and Toad, I believe. I think it was Peach and Toad. Um, so basically, they took the Doki Doki Panic game, swapped out the characters for Mario characters, which was very innovative at the time because, you could play with Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad. And I remember playing that game for hours, trying to beat all the bosses. Some of them were harder than others. But I have to tell you, that game for me, I thought, wow. After playing the first one, I was like, wow, this one's even better. And Then Mario Brothers 3 came out, and I'm like, oh my god. Now you can, transform into squirrels, frogs, and the levels were just so much, uh, there was so much more in the level, so much more detail, so much more thing to do. And I think Super Mario Brothers 3 is my favorite. And it will always be my favorite. But the one thing I will always be frustrated with the Nintendo Entertainment System is we always have to blow the damn cartridge and then push it down. The connectors in the system weren't that good, so when you powered the game on, sometimes the game wouldn't work. So we'd have to blow. So that blow into the cartridge that has become infamous with that system. Well, I thank you for watching this first episode of Retro Gaming Corner. I will see you next time for another retro gaming review. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Wake up. Mouse click.